Okay, kausap pa rin natin si Asec Raul Hernandez, ang DFA spokesman ng DFA, at si Professor Renato de Castro ng DLSU, nanggaling sa Amerika, Fulbright Scholar. How should we deal with China?
Well, we have to recognize it's a power to reckon with. At the same time, we have to deal with it with a clear understanding that your neighbors are not usually your best friends.
Okay.
It has, of course, territorial ambitions, expand, and so we have to be very aware of that. At the same time, as Raul mentioned, that we should not consider our territorial dispute with China as the sum and total of our overall relationship with China.
But this attitude of defeatism, you hear it on the radio, you hear it on media, it's like, you know...
Or appeasement.
Or appeasement, that we can go up against a giant...
Oh, we can. Historically, small states have basically challenged big powers. So look at what Finland did with the Soviet Union, 1939.
What should be the attitude? They say, oh, how can we go up against China? The shooting war. I mean, or even our pump boats can go up against their ships.
First, being united and basically building up our national economy, and of course shifting into territorial defense. Even though we might be overwhelmed by China, just in case you have a major, armed confrontation, at least we could, basically force them to think twice.
Or is this a testing purely just a testing of wills?
That's it. As Mao Zedong said, arms are not that important. It's the human will that matters most.
And is China testing the will of this administration?
Well, the way I see it is that it is important to recognize that China is a big power.
Okay.
And it has a lot of influence, not only in this region, but the whole world. And that's why it is important for the Philippines to continue on with our friendship, with our close relationship, and building on what we have with China already. Not only for our people, but also for their people, and for the good of and the stability and development of the region.
Yes.
So that's why, regarding the West Philippine Sea issue, we have a three-track approach to this.
Okay.
One is through the political track, which is trying to ask the leadership and the centrality of ASEAN to be able to solve and resolve this issue peacefully.
Okay.
And ASEAN now has come up with a draft COC, a binding code of conduct, which we are prepared to negotiate with China when they're ready. So that's one. The second one is we will continue on with our diplomatic track, that is talking with China to make sure that we are able to diffuse the tension in the area and find a peaceful solution to the territorial dispute in the West Philippine Sea. And thirdly, we are considering the legal track. We think that by going and trying to avail of a dispute settlement mechanism under UNCLOS, that we will be able to find a peaceful and a rules-based solution to this issue.
All other alternatives are out of the table, aside from those three?
Well, yes.
Or are there other alternatives we're not talking about?
We cannot consider, for example, any military or any, any solution.
Defensive solutions. Defensive solutions.
Yes.
Is that possible? Defensive solutions?
It will take time. The IAP is focused on internal security. We simply don't have the military capability.
What we are doing now is trying to build a minimum credible defense posture. And this is what we are trying to do with trying to get more equipment, hardware, training for our people, so that at least we will be able to see what is happening around our seas and be able to stop the intrusions that have been happening for a time now.
As an academic, I find it very amusing that that statement is coming from the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, not from the Secretary of the Department of National Defense. That it seems that Secretary De Rosario is more concerned about, at least developing this minimum defense capability.
No, actually,
I'm just observing it.
This position has been pushed by both departments. In fact, when the Secretary De Rosario and also Gasmin went to the United States, that is one of the things that they talk about with their counterparts.
But I'm just a little bit flustered about the term minimum
defense capability.
Credible
In contrast to I think the Department of Foreign Affairs uses the term minimum.
Yeah.
While we have talked with some people in the Department of National Defense and the AFP
Yeah.
would say, rather use the term credible.
Credible, yes.
So, is there a
where is the
difference?
emphasis, in the minimum or
Or
in the
the
credible?
credible?
Because if China will listen to us, I think it's ironical, it's anathema to say minimum and say credible.
Well,
Is this,
maybe the Tagalog version is better. Sapat na kakayahan, no? Sapat na kapasidad, no?
Okay.
Sapat na puwersa. In order to be able to ward off intrusions in our area, in our backyard,
Okay.
and be able to make sure that we are able to protect
Okay.
the resources of our seas. So yeah, it doesn't really matter, but we have to take the whole concept together.
Okay.
well, just like what they say in the way back in the in the European era, classical balance of power. There's a saying that the military capability is the iron fist that is
Yes.
covered by the velvet glove of diplomacy.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So you cannot simply rely on words, on diplomatic niceties. It also will have to be backed up by the military capability. So they would have to go hand in hand. The diplomat and the soldiers are actually partners when they have to deal with, in international
Did you ever
relations.
consider how Chinese psychology works when you say minimum credible defense? If you remember, Rene, in the seminar we had some military officers that just came from Beijing, and they interpreted how this was, how this was read by them, if you recall, no?
Well, if I'm from looking at it from Beijing, we'll notice a disagreement
Yes.
between two very important departments of the Philippine government.
My question is this: would DFA be comfortable, let's say, if in the Kalayaan Islands we started putting radars, if the DND started putting radars, that would be fine?
Well, we have some facilities in Pag-asa,
Yeah.
and we are occupying that island.
Yes. But
We
would you
have
be
a
okay
airstrip.
in improving the defense capabilities of?
Well, what we are doing now is trying to put up more facilities to make it easier for our personnel to guard those islands and to protect the populace in that area. So
Would you be okay with an anti-aircraft weaponry in the island?
well, remember we
I'm sorry, I just have to ask this question. Because,
remember now,
because you know where I'm coming from. Because if you look at Vietnam, except for Malaysia, of course, because they've made it into a tourist spot. If you looked at all the other islands, basically they've built the runways, they have radar capability, they have good water sources, they have at least anti-aircraft capability.
Yeah.
But if you look at our soldiers there, my goodness.
Yes. What we are really focused on now is we would like to abide by the letter and the spirit of the declaration of the conduct of parties in the
Okay.
South China Sea. And that means that we should exercise restraint to make sure that the whole thing does not become complicated and it does not escalate. The tension does not escalate.
The problem is all our regional partners are developing their military capability in the island. I think it's the Philippines. Rene, do you agree that
Well,
that's a
I
bit
think
left
that's the
behind?
case simply because the AFP since 2001 has been focused on internal security. We've been allocating most of the resources, almost 85% of the resources, to salaries of soldiers. And of course, that led, of course, also the focus on counterinsurgency led to the deterioration of our Navy and the Philippine Air Force. We practically doesn't have a single fighter plane.
But you would agree if they try to develop the area, that would be a good thing.
That will be a good thing, but first you have to put your money where your mouth is.
Uh-huh.
You have to basically invest in the shift of the AP from internal security to territorial
And
defense.
should the DFA support the build-up of defense
I think the
capabilities?
DFA is
No, from academic point of view, would
under
you
this
support it?
Secretary of Foreign Affairs is more than supportive.
Would you support the
DFA
build-up
the-
of defensive capabilities in the island?
That is actually what we think about the minimum credible defense posture. But
Okay.
that is, we are not saying that only of this island or that island.
Okay.
We are talking about the credible defense posture of the whole of the Philippines. And that is very important. while we are doing this, of course, we should be mindful that we cannot match, however we try, the force, the power of China. So what is important is we try to make sure that by doing this, we don't also alarm our neighbor, and make sure that there is a way forward as far as diplomacy and peaceful settlement of disputes is concerned.
In your estimation, do you think China would want to create the first incident? Or would
I think they
prefer
would
to
rather
avoid it?
prefer to
Avoid
us
it.
to, you know, like what happened
To create the first incident.
for us to fire the first shot. Then like what happened in...
Because the whole world is looking at them? And
they'll have all the pretexts to really give us the killing blow.
Or is because the whole world is looking at how they will treat us?
No, this is basically how they play the game. Look what they did to India in 1962.
Okay.
They basically allowed the Indians to, Nehru to deploy the Indian forces into their territory. Then after, from their perspective, they have already occupied the moral high ground. We did not. We were not the aggressor. Yes. We were just only. We were only responding to a provocation. That's the time that they would use force. Well, we have to be. At least consider ourselves fortunate that nothing happened during the standoff.
Should we allow our fishermen to fish in the area?
I don't know. I'll have to seek the advice of the Department of Foreign Affairs. They're taking a better position.
René, you're not answering my question.
I'm an academic. I can only discuss academic issues. I have no sense of accountability. So we will have to refer it to the diplomat.
Okay.
Well, actually, as far as the Bureau of Fisheries is concerned, we have already. I think the ban is the fishing ban has already ended.
Okay.
And
so they're allowed again.
They could go there anytime, but we have always been saying that at this point in time, when the weather is really bad, the Bureau of Fisheries would not like to encourage our fishermen to go there, because every week there is actually a typhoon, and that would be difficult for us to be able to make sure that our fishermen are safe in the area.
I want to be naughty, but by saying this, that could it be possible they lifted the ban because it's already the time for storms and they don't expect fishermen to be going in that area? Could that be the reason?
I think so.
Well, basically,
it's a naughty question. That's why I asked. They're saying because originally
so it'll be moot and academic.
Yeah, because anyway, there's a storm, so I mean we can lift the bans and we can
just wait for
it's
another
politically defensible to allow our fishermen. What do you think?
Yeah, I've answered.
Okay. What do you think of what Secretary Almonte said, the former National Security Advisor? That it's only China that can stop itself and or world opinion.
I don't think world opinion can stop China. It has a Middle Kingdom mentality.
Okay.
We're the center of the world. We're have the second largest economy.
Okay.
Our defense budget is increasing. We are now a game changer here in Asia.
Okay.
So I don't think public opinion would matter from the perspective of Chinese leadership at this point in time.
Okay. What is the role of the Americans in all this? They're asking for, the ability to be able to come and go into the Philippines and have certain, I don't want to use basing rights, but to be able to use certain facilities, maybe Palawan, maybe La Union, maybe Ilocos, and maybe Cebu.
Yeah. I don't want to be a spokesperson for the Americans.
Yes.
But we have...
How do you see Philippines?
We have a treaty alliance with the United States, and we have a good partnership as far as certain programs are concerned, like, for example, the anti-terrorism, the calamity and humanitarian assistance are concerned. Then, of course, we have a very strong defense relationship with the United States. And when this thing came up with the West Philippine Sea and the Panatag issue, they were very supportive of our position that it should be settled peacefully, rules-based approach, multilateral, and there should be no use of threat or use of force in order to be able to push the interest of any country in the area, which is very good, and which kind of brings stability and security in this region.
Should we have a permanent ship in that area?
No, what do we mean? American ship? Or?
Filipino, in the Panatag Shoal. And
I think air surveillance will be enough. We just need some, they call this reconnaissance plane, long range, so we could patrol the area every now and then. But I don't think there's
what's
a need
the position
for
of government? Do you think we should
ships.
have a presence, a scarecrow at least, standing in Panatag?
Well, there was a decision sometime in June that all of the ships inside the lagoon in the Panatag should be taken out, and that this area should be free of ships from both sides. Okay. And we were able to pull out our.
And we observed that, of course.
We observed that, and
but did the Chinese observe that?
China for a while stayed there, but in the end they also observed it, and they also left. So there are no more ships and fishing vessels inside the lagoon. But they have still about 3 government ships outside of the lagoon, and some sectors in our society have been saying that we should bring back our ships in the area, not necessarily inside the lagoon,
but outside the lagoon.
But outside of the lagoon.
And what is our position on that?
This one is still being considered by our higher authorities, and we'll wait.
No decision has yet been made.
No decision as to when will this be done, or if ever we will need to bring our ships back.
Let me quote to you. No? We're talking about, of course, the Mutual Defense Act. Everybody's focused on Article 1, no? But people seem to forget that there is Article 2, which the Philippines and the U.S. can stand on, which is in order, and I'm quoting, in order more effectively to achieve the objective of this treaty, the parties separately and jointly by self-help and mutual aid will maintain and develop their individual and collective capacity to resist armed attack. How is this being done? Is the Philippines emphasizing on Article 2 to be able to stand up on its own, to build up its military force?
Shifting to territorial defense, that's been...
no, but how is Americans helping us in this? I mean, if you're talking about really, like the way Japan is helping us, sending us how many, 10, 30 ships?
10 patrol boats,
yes.
But the Americans have also been helping us with the cutters, yes. And we're hoping that this will continue on until we're able to come up with better equipment and hardware.
Are they going to give us missile capabilities? No? Or that's not...
We have to buy it.
That's not in the books.
Usually the difficulty there, we have to buy it. And second, I think the main problem is maintenance.
Okay.
If you bring in, let's say, F-16, it's already very expensive. Then you'll have to maintain it. That's where you will deplete the budget of the...
they say one squadron of F-16 will cost the entire AFP budget.
Yeah. Then we won't have any internal security operation. Then, that will basically paralyze the armed forces of the
What's the future of China? You're reading.
It's expected to, there's been a decline in economic growth. You have some tensions going on because of the divide created by the progressive southern area, whereas the inner part of China remain underdeveloped. You already have tension between the party and, of course, the military. This is one thing I've noticed when I was looking at during the Scarborough standoff.
And don't forget their GDP. They might have high growth rates, but their GDPs, I mean, and they're talking about, per capita rather, is very low.
I know this. This is something that was unique during the Scarborough standoff. You have a lot of officers, generals, in the People's Liberation Army who were able to ventilate their very belligerent rhetorics against the Philippines through the Chinese media, which you have never seen during the time of Deng Xiaoping, then of Jiang Zemin. This only happened 5 years after Hu Jintao. This is indication of the growing influence of the military in the Chinese political leadership. I don't know what will this lead to. And of course, the decision to create the city in the Paracel Sansha and the deployment of a garrison.
Do you see the collapse of China like the Soviet Union?
I
Is
don't
that
know.
possible?
Not at.
I don't want to ask the DFA sponsor.
I don't see that. I don't see that.
He'll get
They've learned their lesson. During the time of Deng Xiaoping in the 1990s, they learned their lesson from the Soviet Union. Don't invest so much on defense. Try to build up what the Chinese would call your comprehensive capability. Now, I think at this point in time, they've realized that we have built our comprehensive capability, meaning economic, political. It's time that we start shifting into developing our hard power.
What do you do with certain structural limitations? You know, it's a communist country. There are certain politics plays very importantly
That will be the
in economic development.
Challenge for the new leadership.
Plus, you're talking about $900 billion of invested in SOEs, state-operated enterprises, which are not making money.
Well, you know, just in case worst-case scenario would happen, we'll also be affected. Remember, the region, the entire East Asian region, is experiencing relative economic growth compared to the United States and Western Europe. And it's because of the fact that we have the, you know, the...
If China collapses, good for Philippines, bad for the Philippines?
I think it will be bad, terribly bad.
Bad for the Philippines?
It will also affect our economy one way or the other.
Generally, our position is that a very strong and very developed and economically progressive China is very good not only for the Philippines but for the region as a whole.
Okay.
So that's why you know we are supportive of China's rise, and we are hoping that China would become a responsible power in the region that would try to maintain peace and stability and security in this part of the world.
Okay, well said. I hope the Chinese are listening to Asec.
So we'll be invited
here, so that you'll be invited to the People's Republic of China.
Yeah, the October 1 celebration.
Hindi po nagtatapos ang ating usapin tungkol dito sa issue ito dahil masalimuot po itong usapin na ito at aabangan po natin kung ano mga mangyayari po sa mga darating pang buwan, sa darating pang taon. Subalit hindi po ito ang huling pagkakataon na ating imbitahan itong ating mga eksperto sa usaping ito. Pero kailangan lang talaga natin, kaya ang naging titulo natin programa po ay Save Our Sovereignty. Okay? Save our shoals, save our seas, and save our Sabah, kung pwede kong itagdag. Thank you very much to both of you. Marami pong salamat. At ito po si Erik Espina, palagi pong nagsasabi sa inyo, magmasid, makialam, higit sa lahat ay manindigan, sapagkat wala pong magmamahal sa Pilipino kung hindi ang Pilipino. Daghang salamat, mahing gabi, kaninyong tanan.